Salutations, everyone. Salamander here, and this is going to essentially be the last video of Chapter 1. Um, this is going to pretty much be about how our universe got created. So let's talk about our creator. Now, you're probably thinking, oh, it's God, or something like that. Well, within this mythos, I'm sorry to break it to you, but the creator isn't a god. He's not some uh he's not some dude, some old guy with a white beard. He is not some primordial being. He is quite literally just a giant alien. Uh an alien named Carvathiatin. Now I haven't drawn him. I have not, and I don't plan on revealing what he looks like to you guys yet. I want him to kind of be like kind of a mysterious thing until the time comes where I feel it would be necessary. But to give you a good idea as to maybe to pretty much kind of what I intend is he kind of looks like a giant uh cephalopod crab-like thing, if that makes any sense. He kind of takes inspiration from some of Subnautica's leviathans that kind of share a similar description to that, to what I just gave. Of course, he's much different, more different. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent. Carvathiatin is not really anything special within the Hadal dimension by the Hadal dimension standards. He is quite literally how we see a grizzly bear in the forest on our planet. That is pretty much what he is. He just so happens to be, a very intelligent creature. Now, Carvathiatin also is a extremely ancient creature, and he is one of a kind, just like uh, some of the unknowns and the macro hunters and whatnot. He is a organism that lives in space and is by far the largest organism that we know of within the Hadal dimension. As to how big he is, he essentially looks at our universe, our whole dimension, much into how you look into a petri dish. Like it's pretty much that big compared to him. But anyway, Carvathiatin for eons and eons wandered the Hadal dimension, watching life essentially come out of it, just happen, watched the life evolve, watched it die and become extinct, and just watched the cycles happen again and again. And to essentially say he was bored. He contemplated, where did the Hadal dimension go? Where did he come from? Is there any other things in his dimension like him, or is he the only one? A lot of questions that he began to think of as he, got more bored. I mean, for something like him, there's not really too much to do until one day he sensed some presence or some kind of thing beyond the Hadal dimension. So he, essentially using his great ethereal abilities, traveled to this strange dimension. And he found himself essentially in I guess what you could describe as a multiverse dimension. Essentially, it's kind of at least this kind of dimension is essentially a dimension where that you can peer into to many other dimensions. This, of course, blew Carvathiatin's mind, as now he is suddenly seeing pretty much what he's been seeing, but in a, I guess, in a different way. Watched realities be created by essentially just big bangs, watched gods create dimensions, watched these dimensions fall, and pretty much all the in between and whatnot. And this inspired Carvathiatin. And so he rushed back to his home dimension, the Hadal dimension, and essentially traveled and found a safe space within a cluster of planets, within a planet cluster, I guess you could say, where not anything bigger than him would be able to, interfere or something due to, just natural predation and whatnot. And he began to work. He began to create matter from nothing. He began to essentially create his own universe, in a sense. So he began by creating dark matter. Now, dark matter within the Mythos lore is supposed to be Carvathiatin's version or fabricated or like synth synthesis I'm sorry, synthetic version of dark essence. So that is why dark matter essentially is the foundation of our universe. It is what keeps everything together, and it is why a lot of the things you're going to hear of in regards to our universe are so strange and so kind of confusing and whatnot, is because it was created by something from the Hadal dimension, or at least the universe, the foundation, the basic foundation, dark matter, is made from something from the Hadal dimension to be reminiscent of the Hadal dimension. Um, Carvathiatin essentially kept on making more matter. He essentially created, would weave essentially little sparkly dust from quite literally nothing, waving around his crustacean-like claws and whatnot. It was almost like he was making some kind of little, like, stew or something. And after a while, it took quite a bit, not too long, surprisingly, for him. Now, this might sound all like a monumental task, but to Carvathiatin, this was literally like just building a little birdhouse. It wasn't really that difficult per se. But anyway, when he was essentially had everything all set up, he condensed it all into a little ball of energy, and then it went kaboom, as he intended. Now, the intention of Carvathiatin wasn't to essentially reside in this dimension, as my previous description said he's pretty much huge, so he would be way too big to fit in this dimension that he just created. His intention was to essentially create a dimension where life kind of essentially uh begin in, and he would just watch it like a essentially think of it like being a similar motivation as to why you would build a pond in your backyard if you have a backyard, or why you'd get like a fish tank, or why you'd get like a little ant um colony and a little ant farm. It's pretty much something like that. It was just for amusement's sake to see kind of, life happen. Though the intention a bit more that Carvathiatin kind of wanted was that he didn't want it to be where life was following or he didn't want life to be created like from a god or something. He wanted life to essentially happen within the planet, uh, eh, I'm all over the place here. I'm sorry. He wanted life to just happen, kind of like it does in his dimension, where on a planet, life would kind of just crawl out of the primordial ooze after a whole bunch of single-celled organisms became multicellular and whatnot. Essentially speaking, life would happen naturally, not artificially. However, Carvathiaton's whole little plan had one tiny error that made itself apparent after the Big Bang that he created. There were four beings that were created by the Big Bang. And these four beings would essentially cause a huge, big change as to, you know, our universe. Like they are pretty much the sole reason why a lot of things in our universe's history kind of went a whole nother direction. And they are why we humans are here. But a that will have to wait for chapter 2. So thus this means that this is the end of chapter 1, and I hope you've enjoyed chapter 1. I know chapter 1 was probably not the most interesting of everything because it was probably the most seemingly edgy and everything because of all the, dark and scary stuff. Ooh, but sorry. I started here because I figured it would allow, I guess, for I guess, in order with the story and all that to kind of give you uh an easy to ease you all in to the mythos without just coming out of the gate with all these other terms and everything that you wouldn't know. Wanted to start from a pretty simple foundation here, but I promise that in chapter 2 things are going to right out the gate kind of start to kind of be a bit more fleshed out because of it being our universe and whatnot. Um, but yes, I hope that you all found this somewhat interesting and thus enjoyed it a bit. And I will see you all in the next one. Goodbye.